tell us when we're live?
I will.
Okay.
I'm waiting on him to. We're live.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 p.m., so I'll call the meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020. If you would, at this time, just please rise for invocation. Lead us in, followed by our pledge.
Father God, we come right now thanking you for all of your amazing blessings. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for another opportunity to meet. And God, we come giving you honor and glory for everything that you're doing, everything you will do, and everything you have done. Lord, we ask that you lead this meeting. Lord, let it be pleasing in your sight. Lord, help the commissioners to make decisions that are pleasing to you. And Lord, we ask that you bless our employees. Lord, we ask that you bless those who need a special blessing right now. You know who they are. You know them name by name. And God, we ask that you touch them right now. Lord, we just thank you. These blessings and others we ask in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, first on the agenda is the public hearing for the 2020 millage rate. So at this time, the chair will entertain a motion to open the public hearing. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Okay, so public hearing is now open.
No comments.
Okay. All right, so there being no comments or anything for the commission on this, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Okay, public hearing is closed. Next on the agenda is the public comments. It's my understanding we have none.
None.
Okay, so we'll move along. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Gentlemen, you have before you the August 4th, 2020 work session minutes, the minutes from the July 28th regular meeting, the approval of the list of roads document radar list for Upson County, and the acceptance of the July 2020 financials. Entertain a motion to approve the consent. So moved. Is there a second? Second. Okay, motion's made to approve the consent by Commissioner Watson, seconded by Commissioner Ellington. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. New business, item E. Discussion and approval of a resolution approving the 2020 millage rates. With that, Jason, I'll ask you.
Chairman Allen, so let me go over the three rates with you. As the board is aware, on the county M&O portion of the millage rate, the 2019 rate was 8.990, and you authorized the tax commissioner to advertise 8.660, and that is exactly what staff is recommending. So that is 8.990 down to 8.660. The second millage rate for your consideration is what we call our unincorporated services millage rate. 2019 was at 2.440, and staff is recommending that we levy a 1.160. And then finally, we're asking the board to consider the joint projects millage rate. The 2019 rate was 4.890, and staff is recommending a levy at 4.720. So if you, the sum of those millage rates for 2019 was 16.320. 2020, the sum of those will equal 14.480. And staff has also provided a small bit of analysis. So one of the questions we had during last week, one of the questions from the board was what impact would this have on a taxpayer? So with some conversation back and forth, I ran just an estimate on what the difference that would be for a house valued at $100,000. So if we're levying the 2019 millage rate, that the amount for all those rates would combine to $652.80. The reduction would reduce that levy to $579.20 for an overall reduction of roughly $73.60 for a house of $100,000. That's a decrease of almost 13% year to year. We did the same analysis for a home that was, say the market value was $300,000. That same combination of millage rates would have yielded in a levy $1,958.40. The 2020 levy that staff is recommending would have that levy at $1,737.60, or a savings year to year of $220.80. Again, 2.7% reduction, almost 13%.
12%.
Yeah, sorry. And I just want to add, so what you're noticing the biggest difference in is the unincorporated services. And last year, our CFO and myself, we committed ourselves to really looking at that rate, and that rate, and we won't go over the list, the entire list, but these are essentially services that only benefit the unincorporated residents of the county. The joint services are those services that we share with the city, and we levy that tax together. So when we did a true analysis of what we needed to levy with those services, combined with the revenues that we generate that are unincorporated revenues only, we made the decision that we could do a substantial reduction on that. And part of what triggered us to have to do that is if you go back to our fund balance policy, as our independent auditors will probably share with you here in one of the coming items having to do with our comprehensive annual financial report. You know, we've achieved a certain level of fund balance, and we're no longer in a position where we need to add to that balance. As a matter of fact, the language in our fund balance policy says that we need to make sure that we maintain that and not continue to grow a balance if there's no budgeted reason for that. So that was one of the reasons we took a hard look at the unincorporated rate and came up with that recommendation. But the things like that, they cover the expenses, just to give you an example, for the road department, for animal control, for volunteer firefighting. Those would be some examples of what would be an unincorporated service. And as the board knows, our insurance premium taxes, which is one of our largest revenue sources, that is dedicated to funding only unincorporated services, so that offsets a lot of our expenses that are what we call unincorporated. So with that analysis, we arrived at a 1.160.
Right, so, and just so to get this out there, so with the going from 8.99 to 8.6, that was just a standard rollback.
Correct.
Same thing with joint projects. That was the rollback rate for the most part.
So the joint project, Mr. Chairman, the joint projects is a little different. So we actually went through the calculation that is required by that agreement. And when we did that calculation, the county's portion showed that we wouldn't need the same millage rate. So it's not a true rollback rate. I would say it's very close to what a true rollback rate would be, but we basically followed it to the letter to the way the agreement says we calculate the rate. So this is a true rate as required by that agreement.
So this is basically just a comprehensive review of all our millage rates, not just adopting just a rollback rate due to inflationary growth.
That's right.
All right.
And the one thing I would add, market values change on properties year to year. So the comparison that I provided to the board was assuming that there was no change in your market value, just so you could get an idea of what the impact would be.
Right. Well, I appreciate you doing that. So hopefully that information will be shared with the public, and everybody will understand that, this is just an example of what it could mean had your property value stayed the same, and so anyway, but for the most part, with no change in property values, you're looking at a 12.7% decrease in your property taxes.
Just for your
Just-
county
just
portion
for
of the
county.
taxes, that's right.
Yeah, that's a great story. Any questions?
So what is reflected in the resolution that's in your packet, Mr. Chairman, is the millage rates that I just read that for in your comparative analysis.
And the one for the school system.
That's correct, which I do believe that represents a rollback rate as well, because I want to, if I remember correctly, I think the school's rate was 14.
Yeah, 14.2.
So what the school is asking for the board to levy is a 13.73. And you,
I believe it was 14.2.
that sounds right.
Okay. All right. You may have any questions?
Oh, yeah.
If you want, I'll just quickly go over the resolution. Whereas pursuant to the authority set out, Article 9, Section 4, Paragraph 1 of the Constitution of the State of Georgia, Upson County is authorized to levy taxes for the operation of county government and the public schools. And whereas the Board of Commissioners of Upson County has determined that it's necessary to levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property in Upson County for the purpose of funding public services provided to the citizens of Upson County in 2020. And whereas all legal advertisements and public hearings required by OCGA 48-5-32 and 32.1 have been conducted in accordance with said laws. Whereas the Upson County Board of Education has certified to the Board of Commissioners of Upson County the tax levy it needs to provide funds for public education in Upson County for the year 2020. Now therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Upson County does hereby levy an ad valorem tax on all taxable property within Upson County for the operation of county government for the year 2020 in the amount of 8.6 mils for general, the joint projects in the amount of 4.72, and in the unincorporated for 1.16 mils. Further, the Board of Commissioners of Upson County also hereby levies an ad valorem tax on all taxable property within Upson County for the year 2020 for the support and maintenance of public education and activities necessary instant thereto in the amount of 13.73 mils, adopted in an open meeting this 25th day of August 2020. Is there a motion on this resolution?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilder. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Thanks to staff, Jessica, everybody. It's a good story. All right. Next on the agenda is discussion and approval of the contract with Gorilla Partnership Strategies. I'll let you lead, or I can lead, depending on how you want to do it. Doesn't matter to me.
Chairman Allen, I'll just provide some background. This was as a result of our work session going back to, was it a July work session? No, sorry, it was our August work session. Where we heard from Mr. Grella himself. He had described the scope of services that he intended to provide to the board. So basically what we did is we took the notes from that work session, and I worked with him to work from his original draft to come up with this scope of work, which you'll see in section 2 of his agreement. And I can go over those very quickly with you. So section 2, he would be engaged to, if you approve this, to assist Upson County with business attraction and recruitment efforts, including but not limited to facilitating curated warm introductions, meetings, and events with commercial and industrial development capital sources, location decision makers, and influencers leveraging his network. Item 2 is an analysis of the industrial park design and build out and identification of target industry sectors for talent and business development. Item 3 assist Upson County with grant writing services to apply for public works, infrastructure, and/or planning technical assistance, including preparing, reviewing, and submitting applications, communicate with and incorporate feedback from government authorities, and implement grant funding from federal and state sources. And then item 4, support Upson County with economic development and economic development policy and media strategies, strategy 2, and its creation, management of social media accounts, marketing, and messaging, specifically as a premier destination for data centers, e-commerce, logistics facilities, and manufacturing operations. And then lastly, based upon professional experience and outreach to feedback from industry peers, professionals, industrial developers, corporate end users, industrial brokers, and real estate capital providers, provide advice to client with regard to priority projects and highest best use and optimal configuration of available sites. So I think that those items pretty much cover our notes from the work session. If certainly this can be amended if the board feels like that staff missed anything between the work session.
The last one is other related consulting services as requested, so it's kind of got that in there. So if there's something,
A familiar one.
yeah.
Definitely familiar to me.
Yeah. So the term is 6 months from the date of execution or until terminated by either party with a 30-day written notice. Fees are $7,500 a month, but out-of-pocket stuff has to come to us for approval
That's correct.
prior to.
And that would be mostly travel-related expenses.
Right. The invoices will come to us within 30 days. Any questions or other discussion on this?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to clarify, because I was on a conference call that day. I wasn't live at the meeting. So essentially, he's going to report back to Jason. Jason's going to be his in-between.
Well, Jason and I think, is what we kind of,
For the board. And in the 6-month term, which is in here. The only other thing I'd like to add to this, not to add to this agreement, but for the almost 4 years that I've been on this board, what we're currently doing is not getting much traction. So it's good to see that we're going in a direction to try something new. Sometimes trying something new gets you new results. I'm pretty excited about this. I hope our community is excited about it. I hope to understand it. And I look forward to seeing the results.
anybody have anything else, any questions, or concerns, comments?
I want to ask that did we hear anything from the other side? Any comments from the city side?
So when Mr. Grella came down, and before we had our work session, we did have an opportunity to sit down with the mayor and the city manager, and so they know this opportunity is there for them if they choose to partner with us on this. I mean, I know it's our desire to go ahead and get this going and I don't mean this to sound a negative way, let others catch up with us. We want to get something going. So I hope that other people, other entities that are involved in economic development in our community will partner with us on this and help share some of this, because economic development is not one entity's sole. They're not the ones solely responsible for our community. I mean, it's a team effort. So I hope others will jump on board this team. And because really what we're doing is we're bringing a tool to the tool chest for the entire community by doing this. So I'm like Mr. Ellington, I'm excited about this.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Question on the out-of-pocket expenses, has he given us any idea of like a budget number? I was just thinking, I kind of would like to see a not to exceed there, just see what he think, see what he would provide as a not to exceed, not leaving it open-ended.
Mr. Chairman, he had indicated to me that upon execution, he would certainly plan a 2-day trip, and I think, first 30 days, it's his intention to come and meet with all the stakeholders that you and Commissioner Ellington mentioned. So basically do a deep dive into what we're doing now, what are the assets, what have we been successful at, what have we not been successful at, and then begin to develop that strategy. So those would be the related expenses. I can certainly include some additional language in here, and I've indicated to Mr. Grella that this may change somewhat, and he's open to that for sure. So
Yeah, I know we've talked about a number not to exceed 10,000. But I mean, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I mean, I would see what, he comes back with, and he may say something less, but, I would be okay with that as a.
And Jason, we'll talk about the funding for this. I mean, what we plan to.
my recommendation to the board, at least for the first 6 months of this contract, would be to redivert our travel budget.
Yeah.
As you can see in our July financials, obviously no one's been going anywhere. So the funding is available to get this for the first 6 months off the ground. So my recommendation would be to reallocate some of our travel and training budget towards this, because if you think about it, it's actually fairly applicable and useful. So that's my recommendation. So, no, we wouldn't be recommending that you revise any of your revenue estimates. Yeah.
We're just going to take care of it for the rest of this fiscal year in-house. And going forward, if this is working like we all expect it will, then next year's budget, we'll have it budgeted. So, any other questions? Well, at this point, I would entertain a motion to authorize me to execute this letter of engagement with the terms as we've discussed. Is there a motion on that?
I'll make the motion that that you get authorization to execute this.
This engagement. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Wilder, seconded by Commissioner Jones, to authorize the chair to enter into an engagement with Guerrilla Partnership Strategies to provide the county with economic development services. No other discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. All right. Next on the agenda is the presentation and approval of the 2019 CAFR. And we have a guest, Ms. Sharp. I guess we'll turn it over to you.
So am I sitting here? Do I need to get up there?
Whatever you're comfortable doing. You're fine sitting there. If you
I
just
need a pedestal. Okay.
Would you trade places with me? I think that'd be the best move.
All right.
Or you can stand right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever you're most comfortable
Okay.
with.
Oh, you can sit right there.
I don't, well, I'll just stand. Okay, well, first of all, congratulations on the ability to scale back the millage rate. That is a huge deal. And to that point, I guess y'all see your handouts. The graph is a reflection of the fund balance over the last 10 years. The fund balance is sort of not sort of, it's a really good index to measure the ability of the county to pay for its operations in the succeeding year. And so you can see through this graph that it's increased a good bit over the last 10 years. And actually it's the best it's been in 39 years. So that's a big deal. Congratulations on that. I'm going to make this really brief because I think it takes a minute to to read through all these pages, so I know y'all want to make some notes and figure out what your questions are. Of course, we'll meet at a later date to try to work through those. The other handout that you have is a 5-year comparative of the results of operations. That includes revenues, expenditures, and the changes in fund balance. It, again, just kind of reflects how you got to your fund balance. And so, really, that's about it for tonight, unless anybody wants me to touch on anything else. But I think that, like I said, it's a good time to, it's a big audit, so I know you want to look through it. Of course, we appreciate the opportunity to serve as your auditors. I know everybody in our firm is appreciative of you choosing a local firm. And we look forward to meeting with you to discuss these further.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Sharp? While she's here?
Took me about 3 days before I had a question. I would have
The
some.
questions
I'm not bad.
will, the questions will come.
I'm
but,
sure.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of things that, well, I'll just point out one thing specifically. Something that's presented a little differently this year on page 70, you'll see under 2019, you now have committed fund balance. And as the board may recall, this was the proceed from the sale of surplus property that the board designated for acquisition of property sometime in the future. So, what that sort of that number, that percentage of fund balance versus last year's operating, you're really looking at that unassigned number, because the board has committed that $455,250 towards the acquisition of property sometime in the future. So,
Yeah, so when you look at the number on the top of the bar chart, subtract 400 from it.
yes,
That's really good.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but this is, the graph is the general fund, which includes,
Right.
like you said, that balance. But overall, I mean, even when you subtract that, you're still in really good shape and still.
Right.
And so, of course, that was done by resolution, and of course, it can be undone by resolution too. So it's accurately represented in that chart. But just to remind the board that $500,000 of that was actually committed, and
So that y'all know,
There,
not
okay, so-
not sure what to do right now.
Well, the thing I like about this is, and I'm going back a few months, I don't know if anybody ever saw me do this, but if you go, so it was actually 2018, Jessica, when did we, what was the last year we had TANs? 2017?
It was 2017.
yeah,
17 was the last year of the TANs. And so in 2017, we borrowed close to what? $5 million. So if you just basically, if you take that and you add that 5 to it, look where you are. So, so as we get questioned on, and one of the things we will get questioned on is how much is, what's the magic number? And I think we now know what that magic number is based on everything we've learned of it. It is somewhere in this ballpark. Now that number is going to have to go up as the cost of goods and services goes up throughout the years if we want to maintain that strong fund balance policy that we have. So I would caution anyone who would look at this and go, oh my gosh, what are they doing? Well, we're there. We're not borrowing any money, right? And it allows us, I mean, who would have thought that we would deal with years like we're dealing with now with so much uncertainty? So, I mean, my hat's off to staff, because, you guys, we may be the ones that got our finger on the pulse, but you guys are the heart. You guys are making it happen, so we wouldn't be here without you guys making this happen. So, thank you all for keeping us in check. And I'll say, I appreciate this. I know how much time and effort, I mean, because I've seen you guys. I haven't seen you much this year, but last year, I don't
You
know
saw
how much
us a good bit at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, behind the glass door.
We stayed away from the government
Yeah,
complex.
I don't blame you. But appreciate what you guys have done.
Well, we appreciate
I
that.
expect that at some point, probably within the next 30 days or so, come over and sit down with y'all individually in small groups and go over some of this, because I know there's still questions about joint projects.
Mhm.
Moving forward with that, so.
And Mr. Chairman, one of the other things I would say that we're proud of staff is our management discussion and analysis, is we've been improving it over time with Sydney and Mr. Wayne's help. I think Wayne and I are pretty proud. There's a lot of great information in there. We add a little bit to it every year.
Yeah.
And it really is it's a great summary of where the county's at financially. So
Yeah.
it's in my opinion, it's the most interesting.
I agree. You can get most of what's contained in the audit from that, unless you're an auditor.
Yeah. All right. Well, and congratulations again as well.
Thank you.
I mean, I noticed the name of the business has changed
It
a little
has.
bit,
Yeah.
so congratulations.
I appreciate that.
All right.
So that means you're gonna be our auditor?
At some point, but yes, I'm already part of it, but, yes. But we certainly appreciate all of you keeping us, and
It's a great relationship.
it is, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Okay, so
Real quick, so right here are
is this the bill?
extra audit reports.
We already paid.
So we send that to Mr. Alexander. But these are right here, so whatever y'all do with them.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, Bessie, is there any action required on this? We have to adopt it?
Accept it, yeah, so my opinion.
Okay. So you have a recommendation from staff to
Absolutely.
accept the 2019 CAPR as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So motion to accept by Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Watson. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Discussion on the award of bids for the replacement of the shop building at the road department.
All right, Chairman Allen, you have, and I apologize, I sent, after your original packet went out electronically, I sent an additional memo. That's the recommendation from the engineer on the award. But as we discussed previously, there were 5 bids, and the recommendation is to go with the bid for bidder number 3, which is Pro Construction. And the recommended award amount is for $559,790.50. And
Can you say that again? 559,000?
559,790.50.
All right.
Change from 579 to 559.
That's
They
right.
accepted a few, or one of the addendums.
Right, so there was a few add-ons. So this amount considers taking item 4, the roof warranty deduction is outlined in the contractor's bid clarifications. Item 1 will not be considered, which I believe was floor coating, was coating for the concrete floor. And item 2 will be reviewed at a later date during construction, and that had to do with replacement of the crane on the interior. So that lowered the amount. Those were done as supplementals, and the recommendation from Mr. Brazel is to exclude those items, which then reduces the bid amount.
Okay.
So none of the other bidders chose to take those addendums and reduce anything, and they just acknowledge they received them?
They all acknowledged that they received the addendums, so I'm sure they had deducts on them as well.
Yeah, and I believe, yeah, I think what's provided in your packet is just their acknowledgements, but yeah, I believe they all, I think each of them, one, two, three, yeah, they all submitted the deducts for it.
So the numbers that I'm actually looking at right here are not the actual final submitted numbers. Because on pro construction, it's 579, 563. We just amended that to 559. So what happened with the other guys?
How much did theirs,
Yeah.
or did we just went to the low
Yeah,
bidder?
and I know that he provided us all that information. I apologize, it's not in your packet.
So the next lowest bid is $677,535 from Everlast. I mean, would there have been,
Our county clerk is gonna be able to provide that information to you here on the spot.
And I guess all these people that bid have been vetted. I mean,
they,
Yes.
don't have any outstanding warrants or anything else for non-completion or
And they're all required to be bonded, so.
anything. Right.
So, Jessica, if you wouldn't mind, go to the bid from Everlast.
You don't see that?
He just acknowledges it. He doesn't list what their deduct was.
still,
Listen, that's the only one I have.
okay.
Yeah, it looks like that's the only addendum that I have.
I think the main thing is to see potentially what the deducts were for at least the next guy, the next lowest
Right,
guy.
right, I mean, you know.
Just in case he wasn't, I mean, he is $100,000 over,
Yeah.
but,
Currently.
yeah, he
But,
could,
yeah, I mean, I just, look, we're gonna spend taxpayer money we need to make sure we're getting good information to do that. And I don't want it to be unfair to the other bidders on here that, cause looking at face value right now, I mean, at 559, the adjusted on pro construction, he's blowing everybody out. Well, that's a lot of money on the table right there, and that's the only thing that makes me question.
Well, I guess they gotta be looking at the same thing when they're making the bid, that's a big difference.
Yeah, because 3 of them are fairly flat.
Right, right.
You know, one of them's way out yonder in Barnesville and
You
the
look
other 3 are
further
in
than that
town.
way, I can tell you.
And there's one sitting at the Big Chick Lake.
But we got, so that, you know, without those,
What's the date on that?
the date on the recommendation memo was August 20.
Yeah, I have that. Rise and fall recommendation.
What the board needs is
Yeah.
Everlast's actual bid,
I don't have
and I
it.
don't think we have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if anybody wanted to see what Jason is currently looking at, that's it.
Well, no, one of those pages, it had 2 pro construction bids on it, and the other ones didn't. That was on the screen a minute ago.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's a very valid question, and, you know, a potential resolution to the issue we could actually table this and then renotice it as an award at the beginning of our work session next week, when the engineer who made the recommendation will actually be in attendance. So we'll let him know that he didn't provide us with the information that Commissioner Ellington wants to see before he can. So if y'all may consider tabling it, and then we
Tabling it to our work session
reconsider it
would
on
be,
Wednesday.
would be kind of an exception to our policy that we typically take action on things, but we do need to get this moving, so.
Yeah, that, I guess, can we do that in our,
Yes, I mean, it's an open meeting.
Yeah.
It's an open meeting.
We just always,
We've always reserved it for discussion only.
The
Yeah.
biggest question is if they submitted a number with those addendums.
I don't believe so. That's
Well,
that's
that's the
why, but I
problem.
don't want to
We're
speak
gonna-
out of turn, yeah.
But we gotta be careful.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
if all they did is acknowledge, now they know where the,
Right.
yeah, it did, just, well, I need to see the numbers before I'm willing to vote on it, or is it
Yeah,
not?
to the best of my recollection, it was lump sum. So that what you're seeing is the lump sum, and then they, I don't want to speak out of turn, so, but without going
Well,
back and actually looking at the submissions,
yeah, I mean, typically when you have an addendum, in my experience, you would go ahead and include what your deducts would be per addendum. And so, if that's not the case, then like I said, you just gotta be careful, because now they know where the playing field is, and somebody could easily come in and just cut to get to that low number.
That'll be fine.
But they've already acknowledged it, so I guess to protect us here is just to have our engineers just say, look, we're not going back and asking them for any more information. We just need the information that
yeah.
he was provided. So at next week's meeting, I guess we just have Chris or somebody.
Which he would be in attendance, he would be in attendance
Okay.
anyway, yeah.
All right. So,
If that's acceptable to the board, I don't feel comfortable, and I cannot answer Commissioner Ellington's question,
okay,
so.
and it's fine, it's valid. So is there a motion to table?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
are we putting a time frame on the table?
Until
Wednesday.
our next open meeting,
Oh,
which
we
would be
can do
Wednesday. You want to amend it, your motion? Who,
I thought we set them up for Tuesdays.
okay, but in the motion, just put the date that we're going to take action on it.
Which is, what's the date?
First.
Revise your motion is what I'm asking you to do, just put a date on it.
Right.
We didn't, y'all talked about changing the date, but we didn't officially change the date. I just thought it was for that one meeting, so I don't know how y'all are doing that.
My impression was that it was next Wednesday.
Yeah, I got schedule conflict on Tuesdays,
So
every Tuesday at 9 o'clock I have.
So the next
At
Tuesday,
9:45.
what's the date?
September 2nd.
Okay.
So who made the original?
I amend the
Your
motion I made to move this, table this till the work session on September the 2nd.
Bingo. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. So this is tabled until September 2nd. All right. We don't need a vote on the table. Table. You always tell me that. I'm going to argue that with you. Okay. Ms. Jones, call for a vote.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, that is pretty much business. Comments? Mr. English, I forgot about you standing up there. You dressed up for tonight, so you got anything for us?
I dressed up just for you all. Good to see y'all.
We believe that too.
I don't have a comment.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us in check. All right. Jason?
Mr. Chairman, just one additional comment, and I think I've had a few individual conversations about the issue, but I just want to clarify our CARES Act funding allocation from the state. We have received the 30% allocation, which is roughly $270,000. The backup that we were required to submit for that has been approved by DCA The only reason I mention that is that the association had called us today and said that we had showed up on a DCA report that had said that we had not applied for our initial 30%, which I assured them was inaccurate. I logged onto the system, did a few screen captures, and then forwarded the information to the appropriate people. So we are on track, and we're working on the remaining 70%. Staff is under Wayne's directions working very diligently on that. We have a September 1 deadline for that, but it's my understanding that applicable expenses will exceed what we've been allocated, so that the entire allocation that was portioned out for Upson County, we will be able to claim. So we've had a lot of success on the portal so far. They included us on a couple of listservs, and finance staff has been communicating with other counties, sharing different ideas and issues that they've been having. But all in all, we've been very successful on the portal, and we don't anticipate any problems.
Thank you. Nothing else? All right.
I believe so.
All right. Mr. Jones.
Glad to be here, appreciate everybody watching, and we're doing the best that the county's done in 4 or 5 years, so we're doing good. That's it.
Mr. Watson.
I don't have anything.
Mr. Ellison.
Well, I just to kind of piggyback off what he said, I mean, fund balance is, there's several different ways to look at it. I'm just gonna say this, at risk of offending some people, I'm gonna go ahead and say this. You know, we heard a lot of talk about this, fund balance and about where we're at, and we had too much money here, and people just didn't have all the facts. The fact is, we're not borrowing money, and that people understand we borrowed $5 million. Okay, when you subtract that from that fund balance, you hit nail on the head, we're right where we need to be. You know, and it was just disappointing that we heard that in our community a few months ago. By several people, it just wasn't, several people got on that bandwagon, oh, we had too much money. The county's we're in better financial shape we've been in 39 years. That's something to be proud of. We're paving more roads right now than we have probably in the last 60 years. That's something to be proud of. We're rolling the millage rate back. We don't control values of homes or property. We control the millage rate. We're rolling the millage rates back. So I'm really a little confused when I hear some discontent in our community about why do you do this or why do you do that? And I understand everybody doesn't know how government works, and I too had to learn how government works once I got here, but we got a lot of good things happening, you know, and I look forward to a lot more good things happening. I just want the community to know. I want to brag on us. I want to brag on this board and our staff. I think we've accomplished some great things. And we had some groundwork laid. We shouldn't take all the credit. The groundwork has been laid for years. We just took what the people we took the ball from and moved it forward is all we did. And I think it's important that our community knows that. We got a lot of divisiveness going on in our community right now about a lot of different issues that I won't bring up tonight, but we got a lot of good things happening here in this community. And let's be thankful for the good things. And I know as a taxpayer and as a representative of the people of District 2, I'm pretty happy with where we are right now. That's all I got.
Commissioner Long.
Well, I have to echo the same thing that Mr. Ellison said. One thing I want to add, though, that people don't take into consideration that when we was borrowing $5 million to operate the county, it was costing the taxpayers in the neighborhood of $60,000 per year in taxes that we don't have to pay now, because the efficiency of the operation that we are doing, we're not having to spend that kind of money in interest rate on the money that we borrow. And that's something that everybody should be proud of, especially the staff and the board.
I agree. And I'll just close with a comment along those same lines, is now's the time that, and I know that we've had these discussions, and staff is we're investing in the community so that we're making sure that the people that come behind us are given, you know, that they're able to take the ball and run with it just like we were, you know, investing in infrastructure, roads, bridges, economic development. You know, if we don't do it, there's no better time for us to lean forward on some of this stuff than right now. So I'm very proud of this work, and I know that we'll keep doing it. So hope to have the opportunity to keep doing this a few more years and building that brighter future that we're all striving to do. So a lot of good things. If you look at the indicators in our community with real growth versus inflationary growth, I mean, we're doing pretty well. So we can all go to bed feel pretty good tonight, thanks to the staff and folks in the community that continue to promote our community. Live here, work here, play here, pay your taxes, shop here, do those things. So, thank you. Any other final? All right.
Just an applause for the way the county.
For the crowd here in the audience tonight. We do miss our folks here, and hope that, you know, if some of them are watching, like, you know, Miss Fagan, if you're watching,
Of course, Miss Fagan.
we just don't feel the same. Not having Miss Fagan here. Hope she's doing well, and everybody else that typically comes to these. And Gary Self, you know, haven't seen Gary in a while, but you know, can't wait till we get back to the days where we can have those folks in the room with us again. So, with that, there's nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So we're adjourned. Thank y'all. We're still live, so. I do have some documents up here for y'all to sign. Well, just this one. I'll pass it.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Good to see you.
Keeping a good eye on our project.
We're done. Right there, I'm sorry. Okay. Give me just a second, I'll text me when it's gone.
Okay, so next Wednesday at 9, airport.
Or we can do it here. You know, last time we did it here, we went back to our airport setting.
We were
We were there for last time.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, I wrote that.
And that's 70 minutes.
If y'all are okay with that, we'll just keep it at the airport.
That's good. Do I need to bring the chicken this time?
We didn't have that kind of chicken last time.
So, you know,
Are we gonna